Okay, one measure of the seriousness of bipolar is that 1 in 5 patients commit suicide. There are many other striking statistics that I will discuss, but we should be aware that up to a third of the 3.4 American children and adolescents with bipolar may actually be experiencing the early onset of bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder isn't a sign of weakness or a character flaw. It's a serious medical condition that requires treatment just like any other condition. So I want to clarify for you today, So today I want to clarify for you exactly who is bipolar and what the signs are so that we have a better understanding of the term bipolar to make it less confusing. You may be wondering, what is bipolar disorder? Well, bipolar disorder is one of several medical conditions called depressive disorders. Depressive disorders affect the way a person's brain functions. Depressive disorders are widespread. In teenhealth.org, an article I read says that in the United States alone, it's estimated that more than 17.4 million adults get diagnosed with depressive disorder each year. That works out to be 1 out of 7 people. So there's a good chance that someone you know may have bipolar depressive disorder. Now that you know a little about what it is, I'm going to share with you how it affects people. Bipolar disorder affects both men and women. In most cases, the first symptoms show up in the early 20s. However, on teenhealth.org, it says the first episode are occurring in children. I spoke with a psychiatrist named Dr. Mason in Brea the other day. She informed me a lot on the disorder. One surprising statistic she shared with me is that if your parent has the disorder of bipolar, then you are 80% likely to develop it. And the reason they say that it doesn't really show up it starts to show up in your 20s but could show up earlier is because you can have like a death in your family, your parents can get divorced, or like you can have a tragic incident and that will trigger it. She also shared with me that kids don't always have the same behavior patterns as adults. For example, kids who have bipolar disorder may experience rapid mood swings and are likely to be more irritable and have high levels of anxiety. The next thing we should be more aware about are the signs and symptoms of bipolar. A person with bipolar disorder may go through episodes which are called manias, and people would call them highs, and at other times they could experience depression, which are called lows. People who go through this don't experience the normal happiness and the sadness that everyone else experiences from time to time. Instead, the episodes are more intense and the mood swings are more severe. So the symptoms of mania and depression, here are a few manias: racing speech and thoughts, increased energy, and then for like depression, loss of energy and fatigue, sleeping too much or too irritable to sleep. In adults, episodes of mania and depression usually last for weeks and months, although they can be shorter in length. In children and adolescents, though, these episodes can be much shorter, and a kid or teen can even go back and forth between mania and depression throughout the day. Episodes of mania and depression may happen irregularly and follow an unpredictable pattern, or they may be linked. Like, some people can have a whole week of being high, and the next week it could be a whole week of being low, or vice versa. And sometimes they have seasonal patterns. Like summer, since it's nice and hot, they'll be happy, and then once winter comes and it's gloomy and rainy, they have like depression and they're down. Lastly, I like to answer for you what you might all be thinking, like what causes bipolar. Doctors don't really know exactly what causes bipolar, but they think it's biochemical, genetic, or environmental. It's believed that the condition is there's an imbalance in your brain, and those are called neurotransmitters. If the neurotransmitter isn't in balance, the brain's mood regulating system won't work the way it should. Although there's no cure for bipolar disorder, treatment can help stabilize moods or help the person manage and control symptoms. One reason I wrote this was to urge people not to use the term bipolar loosely. You shouldn't just call someone bipolar because you don't like what they did. They might just be having a bad day. You might think of using the term a little like using the term retard. It's immature and should be unacceptable because bipolar is a real condition, and people who suffer from it deserve understanding and empathy. And then I just want to leave you with the thought that people with bipolar disorder have negative thoughts and are hopeless in a depressive state. They need to be reminded that you and others are concerned about them and that you are working together to help them get well.
So Ace, tell us what you thought.
I liked it a lot. There were a lot of statistics that was good, and then your thesis was clear, and I like the ending quote. But I think you need to slow down a bit and catch your breath. And I like that you showed all the symptoms and stuff, but maybe you should put a little less, or change the slides so I wouldn't be looking at it and reading the whole time. So I should have been listening to you. Yeah. Just slow down. Sometimes I talk really fast, so it's confusing.
All right, I like the statistics at the beginning to draw in our attention. I thought that worked pretty well. Your goals very clearly stated. You have a setup of what the content's going to be. It's a little simplified, and you rushed through it, so I think we're still going to have to pay close attention in the body of the speech, which is okay because you do signpost pretty well as you get to those individual points. I thought you started out very well with some good citations of the statistical information and a citation for the definition. I do think that we need a little bit more explanation of the technical issues related to bipolar disorder, and some of the definitional issues are not as clear as they might be. You do a nice job in the later section talking about the contrast between mania and depression, and you've got a lot of comparative terms going on there. If bipolarism is sometimes confused with other kinds of behavior, what's different about it? I think that's one of those things that we could use a little bit more in the definitional category. The visual materials, they're not particularly dynamic. The one definition is up there a long time, and I know it's just a technical kind of thing, but it probably ought to go away after you're not using it. And then when you have the long lists comparing mania and depression, for instance, I know you highlighted 2 or 3 important things. I thought that was okay, but it is a little overwhelming, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get explained too. It's not particularly visually dynamic to show those sorts of things. One of the things that I thought was interesting, since you had a statistic earlier about the number of people who have bipolar disorder or some related disorder, and the frequency with which they might consider or contemplate or actually commit suicide, there might be a statistical comparison that you're going on with here. At the end, when you make that recommendation about not being flip about calling somebody bipolar, I think it's a little strange, since you told us that more than 17 million people might have this. Maybe they're using it in a very accurate way. Maybe they are describing somebody who really is bipolar, and that's the accurate way of describing it. But I know what you mean, where sometimes people just use it as a way to be disparaging of another person. I think that one of the things that's missing is an opportunity to talk about the way people are perceived, and the stigma that goes along with having bipolar disorders. And you kind of hint at that at the end, but that really seems to be begging for a little bit more attention. You are rushing. I don't want to say you're in a mania, but it does feel a little bit like you're in a hurry to get done. There you go. Is that a symptom, or are we seeing it right in front of us? All right, and the speech is 5 minutes, and you've got 3 more minutes that you can use, so you just need to pace yourself a little. All right. Thank you.